Good morning, everyone. This is the Severe Weather Outlooks report for today. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. I'm pleased to report that in general, the severe weather activity is really quieting down beginning today and for the next several days. Having said that, these are tornado reports for the last 72 hours, and there were a lot of them and some pretty significant tornadoes, at least in terms of their intensity and how they looked from various videos and pictures. But from Minnesota all the way down to northeast Kansas, a 2-day event mostly. I said 72 hours, but most of this was Sunday and on Monday. Now, having said that, today's severe weather report is actually just relegated to two areas. Southwest Texas has a level 2, slight risk there from Midland and Odessa areas southward to the river. And then in the northeast, there's a level 2 out of 5, the slight risk area. New York City is included in that, so is Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., too, and a good chunk of the northern part of West Virginia is included. And I will tell you that the wind is probably the highest risk with this particular part of the outlook. And if we go back to Texas, there is a slight tornado probability with that 2%. There was nothing showing up on that probability essentially for the Northeast. So this is really it. And that's backed up by Nadocast's outlook of a 3% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of that same area of remote West Texas, Southwest Texas, whereas they produce a wind product too, and they're putting a 60% probability of a severe wind gust, again, including Philadelphia and back in through parts of Maryland. That's the highest probability anyway. Nothing hatched, so the severe wind is 59 miles per hour or greater. If it were a hatched area down here, that I don't see one embedded in there, but that would be hurricane force, but that is not showing up today. As always, check your latest forecast for those areas from the Storm Prediction Center, because on day one, they update it at least 2 or 3 times a day. So for CSU's outlook, they are putting the tornado risk a minimal 1 in that same area of Texas. They're not emphasizing the wind up in the northeast. Spatially, they're putting it in the right place, but not real high probability. And then if we go to the severe thunderstorm risk for Thursday, skipping ahead one day now, we go to southeast, basically Colorado, where there is a level 1 out of 5. So a marginal risk of any severe weather is what that means. The tornado risk is, again, pretty slight, but there, 2% in that area. And also another area, this is a very subtle feature that will show up in tomorrow's forecast as well. A little bit of a 2% tornado risk, mostly in east parts of Texas there. And then on Friday, again, this looks a little bit better. It shifts a little bit more eastward. So West Oklahoma, a little sliver there south of Dodge City, and part of the panhandle of Texas is a slight risk. That's the yellow area. What's interesting about that is that it shows up as a hail risk on CSU's outlook here, but the tornado risk is pretty minimal. But this is actually interesting. Again, remember that was here for Thursday, and then it kind of shifts northeast. It's a small risk, but something worth noting for Friday. 2 days out, 2% tornado risk is something worth talking about. Now, there's really nothing worth talking about and the days beyond this. There are severe weather risks. They were very slight. They only showed up as 5% probability. So for now, I'm just going to skip over all of those and go right to the NIU forecast for the next week. It just shows South Texas and parts of southeast Colorado. So it's in line with what we just talked about. And the week after that, which gets into early June, West Texas again under the gun. And there's some indications that some instability will start to return northward across the plains here through Kansas and Oklahoma. So we're talking about May 27th through June 2nd. And now solidly into June, the 2nd through the 9th. Almost the same as the last graph. So Texas up into the panhandle, or not the panhandle, but into Kansas, parts of Nebraska, severe weather risks. In terms of supercell composite outlook, again, to explain that, they just take an entire week, take a look at the supercell percentage chance, and then they accumulate it per pixel. So it's not a specific forecast, obviously 3 weeks out when you can't say anything about that, but it just kind of gives you a general idea of where severe weather will be active. And I've always found this week 3 to be the most variable, of course, since it's the longest distance into the future. It's just, it's going to change a lot, but still very active into June. And when we get into June, we start to expect that the severe weather should be shifting here. No sign of that yet. That's where the jet stream is going to be hanging out statistically a little bit more in June. So I don't see any indication of that yet, but I'll check the long range models over the next couple of days and we'll see what comes up.